Yeah, okay, I did a post recently on billhook handles made on the shaving horse, which is all you need. You can make them in a vise. The shaving horse is much more convenient. It's basically a quick release clamp, and you can make it demountable, make it in bits, take it out to the woods and work in the woods where your green timber is, rather than bring all the green timber back here, have to deal with all the shavings and everything. And you can make a lot of stuff on it apart from billhook handles. Basically your imagination is the only limitation. These things are really versatile tools, and they're precision tools. Work a little bit like a spoke shave, but if you have them with the bevel, see the shape of the thing? Flat on this side, completely flat like a chisel blade or a plane blade. And then with a curved bevel on this side. The new ones you buy will have a flat bevel because it's easier to grind like that in the factory. If you hold them with the flat bevel down, you can change the angle of attack where they hit the wood, and you can take a huge rasher off or a little tiny shaving. Have them that way round, flat side down, that's harder to do. You'll see people on YouTube telling them to use flat side down, and people like me tell them to use bevel down, and also to cant them slightly. But basically, if you get into this, try it yourself and see what works best for you. Here's some other things you can make on a pole lathe with some bits of ash. We start off in a round, remember? So these are beetles or clubs. This is a horrible gnarly bit. You see the knots in it? Basically the problem is, if you use a nice bit like this, it tends to flake off around the annual rings, or even split around the radius, or halfway along the radius. And these are quick to make. Split them down, finish the handle so it doesn't skag your hand up, remembering to leave a little bulb on this end so it doesn't fly off. And they're surprisingly good to use. They look horrible, but they're quick to make, quick to discard. Years and years ago, the bodgers used to work in the woods making components for chairs, like this one, which is a turned chair with beech turned parts, beech dowels, beech stretchers, beech legs, beech uprights. See the uprights are a similar pattern, and a beech backsplat, but an elm seat. Things like this were made in the beechwoods in the Chilterns. The guys working with one of those on a pole lathe, working in a team, and it wouldn't have been nice easy work, it would have been on piece rate. So you got paid by the number, so gross. So life was hard, you had to be efficient and you had to be quick in order to make your money. The chairs were then assembled, once these had seasoned, in the factory with parts brought in, and this would have been sawn, as would that. And if you look at the bottom, you can see that. Somebody put their name on that. This came from an old girl who used to work for the Ashcombe estate around Dorking in Surrey. And when she died, her relatives put all her stuff out in the garden to go for rubbish. And I asked if I could have this chair, and they said yes, take it on. So I think that was rather nice. So you made those, you can make handles for tools such as this blacksmith made froe, which is unique. That's a bit of scaffold tube to stop it riding up the handle when it works loose, which it inevitably does, because the flare in this is not quite ideal. And you can make these, which are handles. One of those will go on for this little forging hammer, which got found on a verge down in Somerset. It's very, very rusty when I got it, and the handle is very brittle. It's got a flat peen and a slightly domed stretching peen. So one of those will go in there. See it? Finish about there. And these are ash. And I made these same time as I made all these pale ones. Same day, talking to people most of the time rather than actually working. And I'm also woefully slow. And these are made out of the bits that turned out to be too small when they were cleft. So hammer handles, side axe handle. And you can also use it if you want to rehaft a hammer such as this, which is a lump hammer, which is a braids taken from the war years. And you can use a previously loved handle. This is the centre out of a sledgehammer handle that broke, but the timber's still sound. It's a bit of ash, and you can shave it down in the pole lathe. Put a bell on it. This was in the centre of the handle, so it would have been all one diameter all the way down. Put a bell on it, and also shave it down to fit your hand. So if you've got little hands like me and the handle's too fat, you can do that. There's another one. There's one I made earlier, and another one again made out of cleft green wood. The reason you work the wood green is it's much easier than working it seasoned. But if all you've got is an old hammer handle, you can work it on that much easier than in a vise. And you can also make axe handles. This is an old English pattern felling axe, which needs a new handle. And these are two axes I bought at a car boot sale the other day. £8, £12, which I thought was quite good. And these are some I made earlier for smaller axes. And you can see that they're cleft. And this one's finished, but not with sandpaper. This was just finished nice and gently in that, with that little draw knife. And you can turn out a high standard of finish from the green, and then you let it season before fitting it. Neither of these handles are particularly good. This one's got a bit of worm in it. It looks like a bit of hickory. 8 says £8. So you need re-hafting. And you can see this one is quite a heavy axe. It may well have been one of these that has had a hell of a lot of use. You see it? And this handle's been put on fairly recently, but it's got wormholes in it. But it's a nice shape and it's a nice size for my hands. So what we'll do is we'll remove these wedges. Someone's done a half-assed job of putting it on. It doesn't fit front to back of the eye. It doesn't fit the back of the eye there. It doesn't fit there. And they've used these two steel wedges instead of a long wooden wedge, running the whole length of the eye, and then one or two steel wedges going crosswise to swell it that way as well as that way with your wooden wedge. And also it's taken a lot of damage. Someone's been smacking it on the ground or smacking it with a hammer. You can see the where it's been raised. So that'll need sorting out. And on this end, this flat pole's been hit quite a lot. Also the blade has taken more wear on the toe than on the top here. So that'll need to be cut back. But you can make that handle completely from a lump of green timber on the shaving horse. Same with this one. This is a bit of ash. See the grain in it? But this one's been split. This one was 12 quid with handle. Starting to split here, look. No, sorry, £15. And this has got a fawn's foot, which is a flat fawn's foot rather than a full fawn's foot, which is this bulb swollen on the end. You can hit the end of that to drive it into the head should it start to work loose, which this one has. And you can see that this one has had 2 of those steel wedges put in side by side. So another half-assed attempt at fitting a handle, or halved or helve. And someone's been smacking the end here again to fit it. Doesn't fit anywhere, and it's raised a big bit of swarf here as it's been put on or smacked on. Also been painted gold at some point. So you've got gold paint here on the handle as well, possibly using a school play of some sort. And this end again has been used as a hammer, as a sledgehammer. It's all deformed. No maker's name. There's something there, but I can't read it. And it says 4.5. That's upside down. So that's 4.5 pounds. It's also been hit here, where someone's removed it at some point, possibly to fit a new handle, by hitting it here and here with a hammer to work it off. So that's the things you can make with a shaving horse. As I said before on the other post, your imagination is the limit. Right, a bit more about axe handles. General pattern felling axe would have that sort of handle. And this here is a hatchet, which has had a handle cut down to suit it. No steel wedges put in. You can see it's had a cut down fawn's foot, so you can smack it on here and use the inertia of the head to drive the handle back home. And this one says Eagle, and that's a Kent pattern hatchet. This one here was a car boot sale find from years ago when I was just starting out, so back in the late 80s, early 90s. And you can see that has some kind of maker's name on it. I think it says Dino, but that is probably Swedish, and it's a nice piece of steel. But the handle on that is totally different than these, which are fitted usually with wedges. This one basically passes through the eye, so it's smaller diameter here, and it's just driven home as if it was a mattock handle. And you can see this side axe handle was roughed out and then pressed into service fairly quickly, never completely finished. It doesn't matter, they polish up with use. Thank you very much for listening.